What's up, YouTube? ODST General back again with another Operation Trebuchet news update. I am recording this for the second time, guys, because I was lazy when it came to editing, and now a ton of new content came out, so I'm just going to re-record the video and talk about the other content. Before I get into that, I do need to make a correction off of my previous video. While I was showing off the interior of the longsword and the other pictures of the longsword, I included a picture that I had attributed to Hollywood. That was actually from Mishraya. He is a member of both my Discord and the Optre Discord. He is working on a longsword for an independent project outside of Arma that is somewhat based off of Hollywood's, and of course that's based off of Zero's, which is based off the actual longsword. So this is based off the actual longsword. Anyways, I do need to correct that, so you guys are seeing that image on the screen now. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Starting us off, we do have vehicles, and we have a ton of drones. Well, not a ton of drones, but we got a couple drones to show off to you guys. So first up is Rev's drone Hank, as he's been lovingly calling it. This is, of course, the sniper drone from Halo Wars 2. It looks like it's getting a new paint job in Substance Painter. Not much else to say about it right now. I am very much looking forward to seeing how this thing operates with that gun and everything once it's actually in-game. It should be pretty interesting. But yeah, not much else to say about it right now, so just hopefully we see it soon. It looks like it's probably not too long before it goes into the config stage of things. Sticking on the theme of drones, we have a drone that's been started by Hollywood, who has started a number of new projects. This drone is one that's associated with the Nightingale, also from Halo Wars 2. It's also seen in some concept art alongside the sniper, so it looks like it was maybe what was going to be alongside Hank in a previous build, and they ended up making an additional drone for the sniper for whatever reason. I'm not sure functionally how this one will work compared to standard drones or whatever. It looks like it's just got a imaging suite that could, of course, change with artistic liberties, and I'm not too closely look at the concept art for this, so I don't know if maybe that will affect it or something else too. So kind of an interesting thing, though. Of course, more drones, more content is always welcome, especially if it is actually from lore and stuff like that. But yeah, let's go ahead and keep on moving here. Then we have the Onager, or the mass driver, depending on what you want to call it. This big boy got a little bit of extra attention this past week here with Rumi Down Under sharing this terrifying image here. So yeah, this was basically shared with the armament as the measurement and sizes here. And I'm kind of kicking myself in the butt because I had gotten the measurements. I need to pull them up, so let me get that. So this thing currently measures 5 armament tall, 7 armament wide, 19 armament long. And for not insane people who measure weapons and people, it is 7.98 meters tall, 13 meters wide, and 28.5 meters long. It's a big one, is I guess what it comes down to. So this thing will basically be an anti-air emplacement. Fire rate and stuff still hasn't been decided. It sounds like it fires fairly quick currently. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Basically, it's going to be a heavy-duty anti-air weapon, so it'll be really good for taking down dropships and stuff like that. Maybe not so much fighters. It does have a little bit of gun depression, so maybe in some situations we can see it going up against tanks that are further out, or depending on placement, this thing would probably be really awesome for taking out tanks. But yeah, aside from that, I'm not quite sure how we'll see this thing implemented by the community at large, so kind of interested to see that. Moving on, we do still have more vehicles to show off. We switch back over to Hollywood, who is working on his completed textures and stuff, working on materials, things like that for the Rhino tank. So we see a number of different textures, like a factory gray, Arctic whites. We've got like an urban coloring, desert, and woodland. So pretty cool stuff there. So this one is pretty much ready for config work. There's a couple of last minute changes Hollywood was making to the Rhino a few days ago. Last I spoke with him. And then, yeah, I guess he needs to send it over after the config and stuff is all set up, or at least some of it's done, he needs to send it over to get the track set up by Scorch. So kind of interested to see how this thing ends up looking once it's in game. Hopefully it shouldn't be too much longer before we actually see this ourselves and get to get our hands on it. We're still waiting for that update for Optrade, the hot fix as we've been calling it. So hopefully it won't be too much longer before we actually get that. Once maybe the Rhino's completed or something, we'll see. The Kodiak's not too much further behind it. I don't have any images for that this week. However, it is pretty close to the same stage, a little bit further behind. I don't think it's got its textures or anything done yet, but it was doing the unwrap, I think. So hopefully we should see that pretty quick here. Hollywood's also picked up an additional side project as he's closed in on completing the Rhino and the Kodiak. He's picked up a little project. This will be probably like the last thing that we see. However, he started the Gremlin. So basically, he is looking to eventually, at some point, hopefully, possibly take on all of the mechs from Halo. So I think I said the Gremlin, didn't I? Oh my gosh, the Cyclops, I forgot the name for a second. So he's taking out the Cyclops, the Mantis, and the Colossus, potentially. So he's starting off with the Cyclops. The Cyclops is probably go into a side mod once it's completed. However, he said this thing at, like, bare minimum is, like, months to, like, potentially even years away from being completed. So this is going to be what he works on whenever he's, like, bored of working on his other stuff, or he just happens to have, like, nothing else that he can do at the moment. So kind of a cool thing, pretty neat concept, and you guys get to see him kind of scrolling through some of the images and stuff, different weapons for it, all that stuff that he's got worked on. So that's pretty neat stuff, but not much else to say about it. He has also been looking at a couple other different vehicles here for working on, which would be the Condor, which is a upscaled, supersized Pelican. His version of the Condor will not have all the weapons mounted on it like the Halo Wars version probably, but it will have the Heinz-style cockpit with the dual bubble canopy cockpit. It will be massive, chunky Pelican, so kind of neat. I personally prefer the regular Pelican to it, but having something this massive could be really neat. Open up some of the vehicle gameplay maybe with some of the larger vehicles that don't necessarily get carried on the Pelican, or give us the option, I suppose, to see vehicle and vehicle by default, like Arma's default vehicle and vehicle, instead of what we're going to be getting on the Pelican, which is going to be using the vehicle and vehicle for, like, mongooses and stuff. He's also looking at the Vulture, which I kind of talked about previously, that he had teased some work on the Vulture, so not really a surprise to me, but we don't have anything to really show off for that yet. Sticking with the theme of vehicles once more, we do have some work by Ethan. This is a very basic look at the interior that he started for his IFV. So basically you've got kind of this angled interior for the gun turret. It's pretty cramped in there, he did say, so he might be making some changes to this because he didn't sound super happy with the size of this turret and everything, and so he might go back and rescale everything. I don't really know. Not much else to say about it right now because this is so early on, but I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing progresses, of course, and the base for the vehicle, the chassis, has looked pretty interesting so far. I'm pretty excited for that too. Bringing us on over to buildings, we have Hollywood once again because the guy's insane, as I think I've established in previous videos. He has taken up work on the Halo Wars 1 fire base, the bases that are underground. Now, these bases have, at least on a couple of previous occasions, or at least one for sure, Burgess has attempted to do this thing, and every time he seems to try to take up Halo Wars buildings, his computer just dies, it starts on fire, and I'm pretty sure Halo Wars buildings are cursed, so hopefully Hollywood's able to get this thing completed, because it's something that we've been teased with for like a year or two now, and we still have never actually seen this thing come to fruition, despite it being a relatively basic asset as far as it being just a static object that you place onto the map. So I am looking forward to hopefully seeing this thing actually completed and all that stuff, but not much else to say about it right now because it is so early in development. That brings us over to the waterfront buildings that Kenny has been working on. These buildings are also nearing completion, so some of them are actually finished finished with the modeling. Going on to texturing, the config work should be, once again, pretty basic for these as they are static buildings. I need to get Kenny into a chat so we can discuss some of the plans. He had kind of reached out to me. I haven't had a chance to talk to him, but basically go over exactly what all they plan to do or hope to do with these. It looks like a lot more devs than I initially realized are getting in on this static structure or infrastructure overhaul or whatever you want to call it. It's because now you've got Hollywood himself. A bunch of different people are getting in on it. So I know there was some other work. I'm just completely blanking on who else I've seen stuff coming from. But yeah, he's got a bunch of stuff there. So we've got all these exterior walls and stuff. And then he has started work on the new Mombasa Bridge that goes across the waterway as seen in Halo 2 and ODST. This bridge is going to be quite large. It will be something that you can drive on, it looks like. And yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy. We've got a couple pictures on here for scale. We've got the waterfront walls and buildings, which we've seen previously stacked up against the Pelican. He's now stuck the bridge in between these, so you guys can see this bridge is huge. We've also got a person on it for scale, a Pelican. It will fit an elephant. We see a scorpion tank. So yeah, the thing is a very big bridge. It looks like they've tried to scale it pretty accurately. Probably a little bit smaller, I think it looks like, than what it actually should be according to the games. Like the Scorpion just barely fits on the one side of the road, I guess you could say. But I don't know. I would have to go back and play the games, but it does look maybe a little smaller than what it is. But still, as far as an Arma asset, this thing is massive. It's huge. So pretty cool stuff. Definitely looking forward to getting that. But yeah, we get all these pictures for it. Not much else to say on it aside from that. We do actually already see it in-game, though, so you guys get to appreciate that a little bit, get a better idea of the scaling for it and everything. Then we go after it. He has more work on his orbital elevator complex. This time he's actually started working outside the orbital elevator, going into the tunnel structure that's kind of outside of it. That's seeing some of the concept art for Halo 2 and ODST once again. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure if this thing is just going to be a tunnel that you can plop over stuff, or if this will have some sort of functionality or more of a building aesthetic outside of it. Given its massive size, I'm guessing that in reality this is probably some sort of distribution center or something, given its location and all that, or maybe just a parking structure. I'm not really sure. But it is a huge, massive structure. Even if it's just a static object as far as Arma goes, I am very happy to get stuff like this. That's why I probably expect it to be as just a static object, static structure, because there isn't really much room to do a whole lot with it, practically speaking, in Arma. But yeah, neat stuff nonetheless. That brings us over to possibly the biggest structure of the video. This thing is massive. It's enormous. It's crazy. I wasn't sure what game this thing was out of, and I was just dumbfounded when I realized what it was finally. Because when I first saw it, I was like, I don't know what that is. Like, it's building's pretty big looking though. It's actually a soda machine, though. It's not actually a building, guys. It's a soda machine, but it's pretty cool. And I've said time and time again on this on these videos here, it's the small stuff like this that really brings it together for me. You can have a lot of big buildings and something still feel like Altus or Tanoa or whatever, despite all the big skyscrapers in the background. But you start adding stuff around here like this, like these little futuristic vending machines, your hard tents that you have for like the medical tents and stretchers and IVs and stuff from the Halo games, and suddenly it goes from being Tanoa to being a frontier colony that's using a little bit more basic technology because they are out on the frontier or whatever. And you're not just throwing buildings into these areas that they don't really make sense in. You're not throwing these huge massive skyscrapers in these little rinky-dink towns with like dirt roads and stuff. So yeah, I'm always welcoming of stuff like this, but there isn't really much else to say about it. I've gone a little too long on a tangent about a soda machine. So moving on, we have some roads that I believe Hollywood had started working on these. I might be incorrect. I forgot to attribute these in the file name or anything, and I recording, so I can't really go back and check through a whole bunch of stuff to figure out who did the roads, but I think these are being worked on by Hollywood. So they are doing a overhaul on the road assets, trying to get more different road types. So it looks like we'll have some highways, standard roadways, curved roadways, roundabouts. Looks like we've got some shorter stuff, so maybe crosswalks. But yeah, awesome stuff. I mean, curved roads, very cool. I am happy to see roundabouts and stuff coming in, so I'm very pleasantly enjoying that personally. But yeah, not much else to say about it either. So, swinging on, we have a big old square building being worked on. This big blocky boy here is, of course, a Oni structure or something, I do believe. I'm not sure if this is the one from ODST or not, but I would guess it would probably have to be. This is the one that you blow up, I'm pretty sure, in ODST. But anyways, this is being worked on by Sanchez, who needs to finish his carrier. Wow, that just slipped out. Sorry, guys. Anyways, this thing is pretty neat, though. Of course, it's a fairly basic asset, but definitely unique in its appearance and stuff, and I think it'll make a nice, big, imposing building once it's completed. But for right now, it's a box, and we've already talked about a bunch of boxes already, so we're going to go ahead and skip on. That brings us on over to First Contact. First Contact, I've got some pretty cool stuff to show you guys. I actually have some video footage, courtesy of Lux, of the near-completed fuel rod cannon. I say near-completed because it does still need some work. It needs some animation changes. There is 2 versions of this currently. I'm pushing for a third, but nobody wants to do it. Which the current versions are the standard fuel rod and then a lock-on variant designed as an anti-aircraft weapon system. The current anti-aircraft one doesn't really lock on to aircraft too well. You do see them locking onto the Warthogs, but we don't really get to see an opportunity for it to track over longer ranges because it is closer up. You do see them attempting to lock onto a Falcon very briefly, but with no lock or anything, it's not even attempting to lock on, unfortunately. So not much else to say on this fuel rod here right now. It's just a very cool weapon. Because it is really cool and because this is a video, I'll probably let this play out. So I'm going to just go ahead and cut to some music here for a minute, and then I'll pick back up with stuff when that's done. Alright guys, and we are back. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, but we've got to talk about community stuff now. So for community stuff, I've got a couple of cool models to share with you guys. First up, we have Shinobi Shiva, who has started work on Marine-style helmet. I believe he said this was based off of Halo Wars or something. I can't remember exactly for sure. I did contact Shinobi, and he says he does intend to add it into the game, into Arma 3, but it is probably quite some time before that happens, so not to hold our breaths or whatever, but pretty neat stuff. I am looking forward to seeing this thing. Of course, more armor and stuff is always welcome. Like I said at the start of the video, more assets. I'm never going to turn them down. So, looking forward to seeing this thing come out. It is still pretty early on, though, so of course, as this thing progresses, we'll keep tracking it. And then one of the favorite children of the community here, Gek Vengeful, of course, who I'm always featuring his screenshots in my videos and stuff, and he's produced assets for Gao, has started working on modeling finally. I suppose this was probably only a matter of time until this happened. It was pretty inevitable, I think. But he started working on the crosswalk blockades from ODST. Those are the roadblocks that are in the street that flip up, or the bollards, or whatever you want to call them. In this case, I don't think it's technically 100% a bollard system or whatever, but it's similar, so we'll call it bollards. But yeah, it pops up out of the road. So he's been working on this model. It's pretty near completion. There was a couple of things he basically said he was done working, and then he got some direction from the OpTrade dev team to clean up a couple of extra lines that he had on there that he didn't really need. So it will have changed a little bit since I've got this pictures and this video and stuff, but pretty neat stuff that he is working on with these roadblocks. I'm personally very excited for this asset because I think this would go great on certain parts of Gao. I was really hoping for it. My big hope for this is the way that it's configured. It will work both in Eden Editor as well as Terrain Builder, because some of the stuff when placed through Terrain Builder, the scripting doesn't work once you go to use it in game, so it only works if you've placed it in Eden Editor and it's loaded up and recognizes it as part of a mission as opposed to actually part of the terrain. So I'm hoping that this asset works if it's placed in as part of the terrain and not just as part of Eden. But aside from that, guys, that is everything I have to talk about this week. I do appreciate you guys bearing with me for as long as you have, and a longer video because I was lazy this week. But yeah, that's everything, guys. Take it easy. Of course, I do always usual want to know what was your favorite part of this video as far as assets. What do you guys want to see in the future? All that stuff. Let me know, guys. I'll see you in the next one.